I'm not
Hi.
a green
You know,
I think.
This has been yes, you are. This has been a very long time coming, having you on this show. And it's something that I've wanted for a long time, and I know Savanna has too.
Well,
and
I'm
you've been
completely honored.
been such a great listener, and you and I have talked personally several times about a lot of your Hunger Games projects, and it's been wonderful. Before we do anything, can you just tell everybody, just in case people don't know, what is Hunger Games Lessons and what you've done with that?
Hunger Games Lessons is a blog that I started last November. I started teaching the Hunger Games in 2009 to a group of students that didn't like to read, very reluctant readers, and completely won them over. They absolutely loved the book. So I had some other teachers request my materials, so I started posting them on teacherspayteachers.com, which is a great website, kind of a collaboration of teachers who, share materials with one another. So then I just started blogging last year about my experience, and it's been amazing. I mean, I've talked to teachers all over the world, so it's been more than I ever thought it would be.
No, that's really wonderful, and I believe that a lot of places are going back to school tomorrow. Has your school started yet?
We started about 3 weeks ago, so. But yeah, I know there's a lot, especially in the East. There's a lot of schools going back tomorrow, but yep, we're already broken in. So.
No, great. Savanna, you're an educator, and I know Shylah is in education. I'm going to hand the baton over to you, great teachers, and let you ask her about education in the United States and Pan Am. And I'm going to be a good student and listen quietly and not write notes or throw things at people behind the teacher's back. So you guys go ahead. Savanna, take the reins for me.
Okay. Thanks. Adam loves putting people on the spot. So I'm curious. I know that the Hunger Games is being taught right now in tons of middle schools and high schools across the country, and I think it's growing as far as growing in popularity as a book included in various curricula. What has the response been like to your Hunger Games lessons? Do you have a lot of people from all over the country going and getting resources? What about internationally?
I've had teachers from all over the world. I would say Canada is probably the most requested. I don't when they purchase my digital download unit, or if they get any of the free lessons. I don't know if they have, but I also ship CDs to people, so I do know, obviously, who I'm shipping to. And a lot of people in Canada, every single state in the United States, I've shipped a CD to, Hawaii, Alaska, all over, and Europe, Germany, Netherlands. I've had Philippines, Australia is probably quite a few there. And it amazes me, too. I shipped a CD to Germany a couple weeks ago, and that person let me know that they received it, and somebody in Maine was still waiting on their CD. So the one in Germany actually made it there quicker than our the delivered to the Maine, and I mailed them on the same day. So I don't understand that. But everybody, I mean, it's just a book that has just universal appeal. I don't even know what to say. I mean, it takes kids who hate to read, and they love it. I mean, they absolutely love the book, the story. So,
well, one thing that I'm really curious about, now I'm not an English teacher, so I'm not really sure what exactly is going on as far as national trends in English education, but I have heard of some schools actually replacing Lord of the Flies with the Hunger Games. Is that something that you've heard of happening frequently, or is it sort of just being incorporated just as an additional book?
I think a lot of teachers, may be starting to replace some of the, these, classic pieces that perhaps the kids don't relate to as well anymore. I don't, I don't teach Lord of the Flies, but I think that is taking place with that book and other, books, Animal Farm, or or doing comparisons, reading both of them and then comparing the two. So I just think, with today's kids, they need to be able to relate to it. And if they're not into the story, they're not going to read it. It's just as simple as that.
Right.
So you've got to give them something that they want to read and that they're into in order for them to get anything out of it. So.
Have you had
Tracee,
anyone?
I just want to make two. Oh, go ahead, Shylah, and then I'll.
I was going to say, have you had any parents give you negative feedback about using the Hunger Games in your classroom?
I haven't. I teach at a high school, and it's usually freshmen and sophomores are the students that I taught the book to. But I've heard of other schools, and I've had some teachers contact me. So I did a whole blog post on why, it shouldn't be censored. We don't want to be the Capitol here censoring or banning things, suppressing information to our kids. That's very President Snow-like. So, I know that there's also some teachers, of 4th and 5th graders that want to use it in their classroom, and I'm not so sure. My son read it as a 5th grader, but he read it with me at home, and I felt he was mature enough, but that doesn't mean every kid in that class would be. So, we always, if a parent questions a book, which they haven't for the Hunger Games, but we've had, another book in the past that's been questioned, we give them an alternative to read, and that student can read the other book. We don't like to obviously censor it for the whole group because, it just doesn't make sense. But I think that that's a concern, but most of the parents that do question it haven't read the book. So, I don't understand that either. You have to read the book, and then you get the message, and then you probably realize that it's not promoting violence like they think it is. So.
No, definitely. I just wanted to let you know what I was going to say before is 2 comments that might make you smile. Miranda, who listens to the show, tweeted, "I wish she was my teacher," with a bunch of exclamations. That would be so cool to learn about the Hunger Games in school, and I know it would get people to read. And another listener, Cindy, said, "I would actually read the required reading if it was the Hunger Games."
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good tweet, maybe that's a bad tweet.
When I
wish Hunger Games being taught in my school.
Oh, I debated on whether, just for maybe a second, but I was at a loss with this one group that I had. They were all boys and one girl, and they did not want to read anything. And they said, "We hate to read." And I read the Hunger Games, and like, oh my gosh, I have to use this. And so I asked my principal if I could order the books. They said sure, gave me the credit card. I ordered them that day, and 3 days later we were reading it in class, and then we ended up getting the whole trilogy because I didn't know how I would survive with this group of kids if I didn't use those books. So, and I'm, going to be taking them. They're juniors now, but when we started as freshmen with them. I'll be taking them and all the other kids to the movie on a field trip too. So it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting to see them excited over a book. At the high school level, they really didn't get into the Harry Potter books, or they did when they were, younger. So for them to really be getting into these books is great to see for an English teacher.
No, definitely. Now, Sara, I see that are you doing a story on Hunger Games Examiner about teachers that's coming up at some point?
Actually, I'm working on, and I've actually been emailing with Mrs. Orman already. I'm working on a series of articles coming up for back to school on using Hunger Games in the classroom and teachers who've done that and ways that ways it can be incorporated into a classroom curriculum. Which, I mean, aside from writing Hunger Games Examiner, I also run novelnovice.com, which, as many of you probably know, is a website for young adult lit with an educational twist. So it parallels a lot of what we already do on that site, the idea of using a book like Hunger Games in the classroom. And so that's something I support. We actually have on Novel Novice some study questions for Hunger Games, and it's consistently one of the top viewed posts on our website every week, even though it posted ages ago. People just find it from doing Google searches. So clearly there's a desire for it out there. So
yes, definitely.
You know what I'd like to see in school is the Suzanne Collins autobiography. Graphic.
I'm gonna
I've already pre-ordered a set of that for my classroom. So.
Yay!
I think
there you go.
Kids are going to love. I think they're going to love, reading it comic book style too. I'm not against using anything that is going to motivate them to read. So I think it's wonderful.
No, exactly. I think we were actually, if we had time, and we'll make time for a couple of minutes. Savanna and I were wondering what the Pan Am education system was, which is definitely an interesting topic. You do see that the kids in some districts get some kind of education, although they're also lined up for a vocation, whatever their district does. Do you have any thoughts?
It's completely, suppressed. I mean, they don't want any of the districts to learn about one another. They keep information. They'll cut things from the Hunger Games each year, so they don't learn about each other, and that's just things we can relate to that, to our history, how we treated American slaves, Hitler with the Jews. I mean, just that complete suppression and, keeping people ignorant. So we talk a lot about that in class. There's a lot, with that education and lack of that, you can make connections to the real world